Okay. Joyjeet, I want to talk to you about another important aspect. Why this is seeing a lot of criticism today is because Twitter is not used just to, build your own profile, so on and so forth. It is also an important tool as far as news gathering is concerned. Whether we want to believe it or not, news first breaks on Twitter and then elsewhere. What happens to that entire process, considering the fact today you will have verified users and verified handles putting God knows what?
Yeah, so in India, for instance, the single largest community, we track Twitter users and their online behavior who are tick-marked are journalists. And one of the reasons why Twitter has this, like I mentioned before, is for information integrity. Twitter has a higher proportion of users who use it for news than any other social media platform. So it's actually a trusted news source. There might be echo chambers and so on and so forth, but people are going there for news. So it actually has very significant risks in terms of they are deplatforming journalists, but delegitimizing journalists by taking away the tick mark and also taking away the ability to say, well, what is disinformation versus what is verifiable through a reasonable source. So what they will do with journalists and media is a very significant question in terms of this blue tick, because it's being peddled as something that is celebrity-centric, but really the value of blue tick is from media sources.
Rajneesh, I want to bring you in. I'm trying to understand, when Coup had just initially launched, many were extremely skeptical whether you'll see the kind of traction, because Twitter had already established itself and people enjoyed using, the interface, the algorithm, so on and so forth. With this kind of subscription model, how are you revamping what you currently already have at Coup? What are you ready to offer the users today?
So Coup has been undergoing a change ever since the time it started. And I think if you look at the product now, it is very different. And that's not a response to what is happening on Twitter. It's a natural evolution of the product, and it's become much, much better over time. We offer multiple features. I mean, microblogging in 10 Indian languages. Our edit button is free of cost. It is not chargeable. You can edit at any point in time. There is voluntary self-verification where you verify your identity. One of our very interesting features is multilingual Coup, the ability for a content creator to connect with folks in multiple languages at the same point in time. And that's a very, very interesting feature, which has got many people hooked on. We have more than, as I said earlier, 50 million downloads, and it is growing day by day, essentially because of these very, very innovative features that we brought onto the platform. We are more than delighted to welcome people on our platform to interact with each other in multiple languages at the same point in time.
Rajesh, I quickly also want to understand, before I go back to Suhail, what are the kind of measures that you're taking to tackle bots and to tackle parody accounts and to tackle fake news? Rajneesh?
Sorry, I missed that question.
I was just essentially trying to understand, considering the fact this fake news now seems to be becoming a big issue, that what will happen going forward if everybody is verified. At Coup, what are these specific measures that you're taking to tackle bots as well as parody accounts and fake news?
So over time, we've built in several AI and ML measures on the platform, where we're constantly looking at data streams and trying to figure out if there is misinformation or people acting in concert. And we've built that system in India, and it's a very indigenous system, and we are seeing great results coming out of it. I can fairly confidently say that the effect on bots on our platform is very, very minimal. We don't allow bots. We've got voluntary verification where somebody can identify themselves as a human and not a bot, and that helps a lot. Essentially, then on the other side, on eminent profiles of folks who have stuff to say, which people can connect with. And we have about 7,000 people on the platform, and there are very clear and transparent criteria on why somebody is an eminent person and why would a yellow tick be granted.
How do you filter out that process? What is your criteria? Because as I said, when I compared it to the initial verification process at Twitter, you had to send reference links, so on and so forth, to show that you have an affiliation with an organization. How do you do that at Coup?
So at Twitter, I think everybody's always struggled to find the exact page where this criteria is listed. At Coup, you will find this on our homepage. We've identified several categories, from government officers to journalists, sports persons. We've actually drilled it down and tried to bring objectivity when we grant verification, and the system has worked very beautifully for us.
Okay.
It's been up for almost a year now. The criteria is objective, it's not opaque, and I would invite you to visit our webpage, and you'll clearly find it mentioned there on who can get an eminence and who cannot.
Okay. Sohail, I want to now bring you in as far as the larger debate of whether this is a gamble that could possibly backfire for Elon Musk. And I'm not trying to make a snarky comment, but there is a general mindset that if I have gotten something free once, why would I want to pay for it again? I mean, if you look at the kind of initiative that even Netflix came up, that if you share your password with your friends, you'll possibly will have to pay for it. That's a lot of criticism. So do you now see a mass exodus at Twitter?
Not at all. I think the gamble won't backfire. There'll be enough people for whom verification is a badge of honor. Because please understand, in the social order of things, people are clamoring for blue ticks everywhere, blue, green, whatever the hell the color is. So I don't think there'll be less people asking for a verification. Today, people scream if they're not verified on Instagram. I don't know what it does to their social stature. Does it make them more welcome to dinners, or does it make them more intellectual than they really are? I really don't know. My point is very simple. There are three basic issues here. Joyjit mentioned them, and I think the gentleman Rajneesh mentioned them as well, and the other gentleman. There are three simple issues. Number one, what is the objective of Elon Musk? Is it revenue? If it's revenue, $8 is not the answer. And $8 in this manner is certainly not the answer, because you're diluting the value and the reputation and the intrinsic respect of the platform. Because then the platform will be seen as commerce-driven rather than content-driven. So you will alter the DNA of the platform. The second is, what is your objective by giving verification to people on the strength of money? That means there is no other criteria. Now, I think Rajneesh said, on Coup, we have a certain criteria for eminence. So how do you define? These are things that Elon Musk does, like Trump did, on the back of just, free finger typing. Oh, let's do this. I mean, Stephen King says, I can't pay, I'll pay $8. Okay, $8 it is. This isn't a joke. You're playing around with a company that is supposed to, and as the other gentleman, I forget the name, blame it on old age, where he said that today you're using this platform for various reasons.
True.
You're using it for hate. You're using it to peddle fake news. You're using it to incite people, being insidious. How are you going to stop that? Tomorrow, if I have a verification, what accountability are you talking about? Imagine if you're from the ruling party and you say something, incendiary. Let's say you say something insidious. You think there's going to be any action against you? Not at all. So decide what the objectives are.
Yeah.
If revenue is the objective, this is not the answer.
Right.
If dilution of the platform's respect, stature, and DNA is the issue, then by all means, go ahead. And look, let me tell you, it's not about free. I've always said India is the capital of freedom fighters. They fight for anything that's free. It's very difficult to give something free and then claw back.
Yeah.
Because then people feel slighted.
That's exactly what I said.
If
you've had something free once, I'm not sure how many would be okay wanting to pay for exactly that.
And why should they?
Unless it comes with the caveat that there's going to be a lot more.
I don't need Twitter to run my life or run my business. I don't think anyone on this panel needs to, neither do you. I'm there. I've been verified. I didn't ask for verification.
Yeah.
Tomorrow you say I have to pay for it. I'll say no. It's not the $8,
True.
as I keep repeating. It is the principle
Correct.
by way of which you're altering the very DNA of that platform.
Yeah. That's exactly why I started the show by saying that
No.
Is it actually going to dilute the value, the verification badge, and the kind of initiatives that followed with that? But Jiten, I'm also... Yeah, one sec. Jiten, I'm also trying to understand is that when Elon Musk's, the world's richest man comes out and announces something like this, either way, everything that he does is extremely flamboyant, and many say not with a lot of research, and it's very spontaneous. I'm only essentially trying to understand, is it now opening a Pandora's box? Will we see other platforms also follow suit?
It's only opening a Pandora's box in India because we don't have very much else to do. It is insignificant. If you look at the Twitter users in this country, they don't make a minor dent as well. It's a simple echo chamber which resides in its own comfort.
So, I was asking Jiten.
So don't imagine that it's opening any kind of box, Pandora or otherwise.
Okay, Jiten.
The thing that you have to worry about is, as one gentleman said,
Okay, so I'll just request Jiten because I'm actually running out of time. But Jiten, do you think other platforms will follow suit as well?
I think it's going to be a problem because in India, as my fellow panelists rightly pointed out, you have a right of verification by law, by IT rules, and in nowhere it says it's going to be paid. So if Twitter starts charging money for verification, then suppose if a political party 1 month before election decides that I want to get 1 million blue ticks to spread misinformation, and I'm just going to pay $8 million just for 1 month till before the election, and then let's have a political street fight on Twitter. What will happen? I think it's going to open floodgates for verification on other platforms also, where in a country like India, where it is a legal right, which government of India till day has not pressed. So I think the Twitter has to be very, very careful. They have to, delink verification from eminence tag.
Okay.
If he wants to offer Twitter Blue with verification, let it be a black tick, orange tick, or I think, some umbrella. But don't turn Twitter into a sinkhole of where Twitter Bluebird is bleeding red, because of disinformation. I think one has to be very, very careful because it's going to put Twitter with a lot of confrontation in many geographies and countries with sovereign leaders and especially government officials who will never pay for
I think that